Hello again, welcome to another video by the Laser Sports Academy. In today's video we're going to be doing a little bit of a deep dive into the specific position of being a door defender. As a door defender there's three states that you'll find yourself in, right? So there's the set state where you've got a pretty traditional defense set up, your last line's in the base, one on each side or some variation of that. And you're ready for the attackers to come to you, or maybe the attack's already here, but the defense is set, right? The second state is the reset state. That's the point where the defense has been cracked, there's now an attacker in the base, and you have to try and reset your defense. The third state that you'll find yourself in is the field pointing state, and that's when, let's say I've called zero front door, I hear zero back door on the other side. That means there's no one around. Now it's time to try and maximize our impact on the game, so I'll push out a bit to a field pointing position. In today's video, we're going to be just looking at the set state, what the objective is when you're in the set state, and your list of priorities when you're in that position. So yeah, let's get right to it. Alrighty, so I'm just going to start off by defining what the objective is when you're in the set state of your defense, and then also what your list of priorities are when you're in that state. So as a door defender, the objective is primarily, if you shave everything else away, is to prevent attackers from getting into your base and taking your base, right? So by understanding, I think defining and understanding the objective in every position that you're in and the different states that those positions can have is really important in making sure that you're making the right decisions when you're in those positions, right? So when you're in the set state, it's inherently a little bit more structured and on the defensive side. So your list of priorities is going to reflect that, right? So the priority one is to have vision in the immediate area of the door, especially vision on the doorway itself, so that you can then comm effectively to your last line and to the person on the other side of the base. Priority number two is to try and out-position the attackers in a way that for them to try and attack the base, they have to first deal with you. If they don't have to deal with you and they can just get into the base without doing so, then it probably means that you're not positioned very well, right? So we want to position in such a way that they have to deal with us before that they can enter the base. Priority number three is to then take the duels against the attacking players that they're kind of forcing on us. If we can avoid taking duels as a door defender while still fulfilling the objective of preventing them getting in the base, that's still a win. You don't need to tag the attacker to be fulfilling your objective as a defender. Whereas if you look at it from an attacking perspective, for them to get into the base, right, if the door defender is doing a good job, they have to tag you first before they can fulfill their objective of tagging the base. So that's the important difference between attacking and defending, the dichotomy of the different objectives, right? So yeah, that's the definition of the objective and the priorities. So let's do a little bit of a deeper dive into how it looks when I'm trying to execute on that priority list. Cool, so let's have a look at priority one, which is to prioritize having vision on the door and the immediate area around the door. I think it's my belief that if you had a player who only abided by priority one, they ignored priority two and three, which is to outposition you opposing attackers and to take duels. They did nothing else, they were just you put a free point sign above their head or whatever, but for the entire game, they commed effectively and they had vision on the door. That player can still have a pretty big impact on the game, and their last line will be grateful for their comms and stuff, right? Obviously, at a higher level, you can't really get away with that. You need to make those opposing attackers work for literally every millimeter, and that's where you see the best defenders are the ones that are able to weave in priority 2 and 3, making them really difficult to deal with within their own right. And then even when they lose, they still abide by priority 1, which is having vision on the door and the immediate area. They can then use that to comm effectively to their last line. So even after the grueling process of dealing with this really good defender that's good at dueling and at positioning and stuff, you then have to deal with the last line that's got really good comms. So But one of the mistakes that people make really often is they kind of not ignore, but they prioritize priority 2 and 3 over priority 1, which is priority 1 for a reason, but let's look at that in an example. So again, priority 2 is to outposition the opposing attackers, and priority 3 is to take duels, right? So let's look at the front door of green, for instance, okay? So we've got what we call the dumbbell, which is 2 barrels and a panel, right? When I'm on this side of the dumbbell, I've got vision on the doorway and I vision an immediate area. So thumbs up, I can do a real good job as a door defender here. However, you know, depending on the layout of the door or the layout of the area around the door, people get tempted into positioning themselves in a way where maybe, you know, they're not so exposed to sightlines and stuff, or it feels better for their dueling, but they sacrifice priority 1, which is vision over there, okay? So let's say, as an example, I ignored priority 1, I took priority 2 and 3, and I'm about to take a duel against someone here, right? Let's say even if I win that duel, in the time it takes me to do this, you know, maybe I'm only looking away from the door for a handful of seconds, you know, like 5 seconds maybe. In the time I do that, someone snuck around this corner, they've gone into the base, they've shot my last line, shot my defender on the other side, and now they're 2 shots on, and I'm like, crap, that's totally my bad. So yeah, obviously being able to do a duel well and you know, position well is really important, but for the most part it shouldn't take priority over having vision on the doorway in the immediate area of your door. But yeah, that's priority 1. All right, let's move on to priority number 2 now, which is to outposition the attacking players. Right now, I'm in a position on the front door of green where I'm behind cover, and the only way to get to front door of green is from over yonder, right? I'm positioned in a way where if they wanted to get through the door here, they first have to tag me. If they don't tag me, I just tag them, right? So this is an example of forcing the attackers to take duels against you. So let's say that there's an attacker over there by the half height, right? It's really tempting as a defender, you know, especially when the attacker's spamming shots at us, to try and spam shots back at their phaser. The thing you have to realize, as we were saying before, is to remember what your objective is. The objective isn't to tag attackers. The objective is to stop them from getting into the base. If I'm positioned here and they're positioned over there, as long as they're over there, they're not getting into the base. So I'm fulfilling my objective, I'm wasting their time. Time is like on your side as a defender, whereas as an attacker, you're trying to like race against time almost, right? So that's one of the mistakes that people make really often, is they see someone really far away, they spam shots at them, they get hit on the phaser, now they've already dealt with the door defender and they can get in for free, right? Obviously I'm still here, I've still got vision on the doorway, keeping in mind priority number 1 and comming, but it just gets rid of one of the obstacles like for free for them. At the highest levels especially, you want to avoid giving anything away for free. You want them to have to work for literally everything, right? So yeah, if they were to stay over there, all chips and gravy. However, most of the time they're going to understand, okay, this guy's not budging, I'm going to have to go and deal with them, which means they're going to move across and you get a free tag on them, right? So that's already 150 points for me. That's 8 seconds of their time that I'm going to waste because there's an 8-second deactivation timer, or different deactivation times depending on the rule set you play. And yeah, that's in essence like a perfect example of executing, like abiding by priority number 2 in outpositioning my opponent. The advantage that an attacker has is chaos and just moving around dynamically, like they're not really set to positions at all. So obviously, you know, even if I get that first tag from there, they're probably going to try and move to a position where they can deal with me. And so if I just stay here, I'm probably toast. Sometimes there's positions in the arena where you can just stay there forever and it's like always good. But most of the time, depending on the design of the door, you're going to have to dynamically change your positioning as well to keep it in a situation where they have to deal with you first and like not give them a free tag, if that makes sense. Alrighty, on to priority 3, the last of our priorities when we're in the set state of our defense. We're at the point where we've been abiding by priority 1, making sure we've got good vision on the door and good comms and stuff. We were using priority 2, where we're positioning in such a way where we were forcing attackers in a situation where for them to approach the door, they first have to take a tag. Now we're at the point where, okay, you've positioned well initially, you forced them to take a tag, a deactivation, bought you a little bit more time. Now the attackers will get to a point where they go, okay, I can't get in this base until I deal with this defender. And now you're in priority 3, which is the only thing left is to just take this duel against the attacker. So I guess a few bits of advice would be to, for one, try and make sure you're still abiding by priority 1, which is to have vision on the door in the immediate area so that you can still comm effectively. It's no good if we get to priority 3, like I was saying in the priority 1 part of the video, if I take a duel in such a way where I no longer have vision on the door, I get so tunnel vision on that, and then their teammate comes in, sneaks into the base, shoots out my last line, and because I wasn't watching the door, I wasn't able to comm it for them, right? So making sure you're still being cognizant of your priority 1. The next thing would be, you've got teammates, and occasionally you can actually use your last line to help you win these duels. So yeah, you can still kind of abide by priority 2 of outpositioning the opposing attackers by positioning in such a way where they're either stuck where they are and they have to take another a tag to move from where they are, or B, positioning in a way where even if you lose the duel, you force their positioning in a way where your last line's going to tag them straight away, especially if you're comming effectively and they know they're there. So yeah, I won't delve too much into dueling mechanics and stuff like that. That's a really big topic for a future video. But yeah, that's about it for priority 3. Alrighty, that wraps it up for our position breakdown for today. Today we were only looking at the set state of your defense. So that's when my defense is all set up, we've got defender on each side, last line is in the base, and we're being attacked. In a future video, we may cover things like the reset state, where I'm now trying to get attackers out of my base that have managed to crack the defense, and the field point state, where there's no one attacking our base, and then basically how to make the most of your defense, making sure you're still being productive and having an impact on the game, even when you're not being attacked. In the future, I'm also looking at doing a position breakdown for all the other positions in the game. So for instance, I think one of the next ones I'll probably do is an attacker position breakdown, which will show the interesting dichotomy between the priorities and the objective of the defenders versus that of the attackers. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do. It's it's cool to see the support coming through. And yeah, if you have any suggestions for future videos or any criticisms or anything like you'd like us to improve, let us know. We're all for it. But until then, I'll see you in the next video.